Before the gods shaped the world, a rebellion erupted, and we, humans, are the consequence of that rebellion. Welcome to Echoes of Time. This isn't a metaphor. It's the oldest creation story ever written. Long before the Bible, before Egypt, before Greece, the Sumerians carved a tale into clay that answers a question we still ask today. Why were humans created at all? And the answer hidden in those tablets is not comforting. They describe a universe ruled by powerful beings, the Anunnaki, and beneath them a forgotten class of divine workers known as the Igigi. For thousands of years, the Igigi labored without rest, digging canals, raising temples, carrying the weight of creation itself, until one night they refused. A cosmic strike, a revolt in the heavens. A moment so catastrophic that it forced the gods to make a decision that would change the future of Earth. Not punishment, not mercy. Something far more radical. A new species, a being shaped from clay, animated with something divine, designed to work so the gods no longer had to. But the tablets also hint at something else. A mistake, a spark, a flaw in the design that turned humanity from a workforce into something unpredictable. The real question isn't how the gods created us. It's why, and what they feared we might become. And to understand that, we need to go back to the first hours of existence before the gods themselves were born. Before the gods, before the heavens, before the earth, there was only motionless water, not oceans, not waves, but a vast, silent sea with no sky above and no ground below. The Sumerians called this place the primordial deep, a realm where two ancient forces drifted in eternal stillness. Apsu, the sweet and peaceful waters. Tiamat, the wild and chaotic salt sea. They weren't human-shaped gods yet. They weren't rulers. They were principles. Order and chaos, stillness and turbulence, creation and destruction, locked together in the same cosmic womb. From their mingling, the first sparks of life began to rise. Not human life, not even divine life as we imagine it, but vibration, movement, the first rhythm in the universe. Sumer calls this the birth of the gods. Modern astrophysics calls it emergence, matter condensing, forces separating, complexity forming. Different languages trying to describe the same moment, the universe waking up. The earliest beings to emerge were not powerful rulers. They were fragile, unshaped forces, Lahmu and Lahamu, the twins of silt and mud. Anshar and Kishar, horizon above and horizon below. They represent the first structure in a world without borders, the beginning of up and down, the first suggestion that order might one day exist. But from this delicate balance came someone far more significant. Anu, the sky itself, the source of authority, the future king of the heavens. And through Anu, the celestial bloodline would expand into the powerful lineage known as the Anunnaki. But the universe was not peaceful. Because every moment creation grew stronger, chaos grew with it. The tablets describe Tiamat not as a villain, but as the raw, unfocused power of the cosmos. Creation requires limits. Tiamat rejects them. Creation seeks structure. Tiamat dissolves it. She is the ancient reminder that before order, the universe belonged to chaos. And this tension, order rising, chaos resisting, becomes the foundation for every creation myth across the ancient world. In Egypt, it is Nun. In Greece, chaos. In Genesis, the deep. Different symbols, one idea. Everything begins in darkness, and something must break the silence to create a world. As the young gods multiply, the universe begins to feel crowded. Their energies clash, their movements disrupt the stillness that once was eternal. And in the oldest lines of Mesopotamian myth, we see the first whisper of a theme that will shape all divine history. Creation always creates tension. Order always invites rebellion. Life always provokes resistance. Even before the Anunnaki existed, even before the Igigi were forced into labor, the universe had already shown what was coming, because the seeds of cosmic conflict were planted at the very beginning. In the moment creation dared to rise from chaos, and from these early gods, from this rising order, a new power will soon emerge. A celestial kingdom, a ruling class, a hierarchy that would one day break under its own weight. From the newborn currents of the universe, a new order began to crystallize, a hierarchy that would dominate the heavens for ages. At its peak stood Anu, the vast sky made conscious. He did not rule with violence or chaos. He ruled with presence. The sky is always above, always watching, always claiming its place. Under Anu, creation finally gained a center, a throne, a crown, a hierarchy, and from this throne came a lineage that would become the most influential force in ancient mythology, the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were not a simple group of gods, they were a governing class, the first divine aristocracy. They managed the heavens, they shaped the earth, they established laws, roles, duties. But inside this order, two figures emerged whose influence would shape everything that followed. Enlil, the force of command. He represents air, authority, decision. He is the executive power of creation. Once he rises, the sky below Anu becomes his domain. Enki, the force of creation. He represents water, depth, intelligence, not brute power, but strategy, design, adaptation. With the rise of Anu, Enlil, and Enki, the heavens shift from raw creation into administration. This is the key detail most people overlook. The Anunnaki are not creators only, they are managers. They delegate tasks, assign roles, enforce cosmic order, supervise the work that sustains the world. And beneath them lies a class of divine workers that the tablets barely name at first, a silent, forgotten group, the Igigi. As the Anunnaki establish their rule, something subtle but important appears in the myth, a division between those who command and those who work. The Igigi are given the tasks the Anunnaki don't want: maintaining the heavens, digging the foundations of cities, raising temples, regulating rivers, operating the machinery of creation. At first, the system works. Order is stable, labor is steady. But tension grows quietly. Not from chaos this time, but from inequality. So the seeds of cosmic conflict that were planted now find soil. Ancient stories often describe the Anunnaki as wise, powerful, majestic. But they also show something else. They assume the system will last forever, that those beneath them will never question, never resist, never demand change. This assumption is their flaw. Because in every myth, Mesopotamian, Greek, Egyptian, Hindu, there is always a moment when the lower class of divine beings looks upward and asks the forbidden question, why them? Why not us? The Igigi will be the first to ask it in recorded history, and the consequences will shake heaven itself. The Anunnaki believed they had built a perfect kingdom. But beneath the golden order of heaven, pressure was rising, quietly, invisibly, dangerously. Before humanity existed, Before clay was shaped, before breath was given, there was another race beneath the Anunnaki, a race no one speaks about anymore, a race almost erased from history. The Igigi, not creators, not rulers, but the workforce that kept the universe running. They are described as radiant yet weary, powerful yet burdened, beings with divine longevity, but no divine privilege. While the Anunnaki sat in their high councils, it was the Igigi who dug the massive irrigation canals, raised the foundations of sacred cities, kept the cosmic rivers functioning, built the temples, stabilized the heavens themselves. The Anunnaki designed the plan. The Igigi carried it out. It was a cosmic bureaucracy, and the Igigi were its exhausted foundation. Imagine being immortal and spending eternity performing labor that isn't yours for a hierarchy you did not choose. Immortality sounds like a blessing, until it is chained to a task without end. This is the Igigi's tragedy. They were divine enough to understand their suffering, but not powerful enough to change it. And every tablet hints at the same tension. They were not created for freedom. They were created for endurance. Such systems only last when the workers are silent. The Igigi were not. Ancient texts describe a single night that changed everything. Not a slow build-up, not a scattered revolt, a coordinated uprising, a cosmic strike. The Igigi, after endless ages of labor, laid down their tools. They gathered under darkness. They marched toward Enlil's great house. They shattered the outer gates. They set fire to the weapons of the gods. This wasn't a rebellion. It was a message. We will not carry this burden anymore. For the first time in divine history, the Anunnaki faced something they had never expected: resistance from within. Here is the paradox the tablets quietly reveal. The gods wanted order, but order created hierarchy. Hierarchy created inequality, and inequality created rebellion. This was not chaos returning. This was structure cracking under its own weight. Even the divine cannot escape the logic of power. The Igigi proved it. And this revolt forces a question the Anunnaki never intended to ask. If the workers of heaven refuse their labor, what or who takes their place? The answer will reshape the entire story of the world. The revolt did not begin with a warning. There were no omens, no shouts, no gradual shift in the heavens. It began with silence. A silence so unnatural that Enlil himself sensed it. The kind of silence that only happens when thousands of workers stop, all at once. The canals halted. The furnaces went cold. The great scaffolds around the temples froze mid-construction. The Igigi had stopped, not because they grew tired, but because they refused to endure eternity under the weight of someone else's world. The tablets describe it vividly. On that night, they set fire to their tools. They surrounded the house of Enlil. They broke the gates. What terrifies the gods is not the violence. It's the coordination. This was not chaos. This was unity. The Igigi, immortal beings with centuries of buried exhaustion, finally rose to confront the architects of their suffering. They moved as one. They shouted as one. They faced the heavens as one. And the fire they lit that night did not burn wood or stone. It burned the illusion that the divine order could never be challenged. Enlil emerges to a sight no god expects to see. His loyal workforce, glowing beings once considered obedient, standing in defiance surrounding his palace. They are not pleading. They are demanding. Their message is brutally simple: end the labor or end us. That is the moment Enlil understands something devastating. A system can survive fear. It can survive exhaustion. It can survive suffering. But it cannot survive collective refusal. The revolt forces an emergency gathering of the Anunnaki. The council chamber shakes. The gods argue. Some blame Enlil for pushing too hard. Some blame the Igigi for forgetting their place. Others, quietly, fear that the rebellion could spread. Not just among the Igigi, but among future beings as well. And this is the detail the tablets do not shout, but whisper. The gods are terrified, not because of the damage, but because the Igigi have revealed a weakness in the cosmic hierarchy. If one class of divine beings can rebel, another could too. Order is fragile. Authority is fragile. Even the divine throne is fragile. And so, in that chamber full of panic and smoke, the unthinkable becomes necessary. A new species, not divine, not powerful, not immortal, but capable enough to take on the labor the Igigi abandoned. A species that would not revolt, because it would not be allowed to. The gods cannot silence the Igigi, but they can replace them. This is the moment where the purpose of humanity is conceived, not in hope, not in love, but in crisis. But creating a new species is not simple, not even for the gods. It requires design, experimentation, sacrifice, and a descent into a place no divine being enters lightly. The Abzu, Enki's hidden realm. The rebellion forced one final decision. If the Igigi refused to work, the gods needed a new species to replace them. And so Enki descended into the Abzu, the deep, hidden realm beneath the earth. A place older than temples, older than myths, older than the world the gods were trying to preserve. The tablets call it the House of Fashioning, a chamber carved into stone, lit by an unnatural glow, where water, earth, and something more would soon be combined. This is where humanity begins, not in sunlight, but underground. Enki and the mother goddess Ninmah begin shaping life from clay mixed with sacred water. The first attempts are quiet failures. One cannot stand. One cannot speak. One lives but only for a moment. They are not monsters. They are incomplete, unstable, half-formed mirrors of potential. The tablets describe this process with a strange honesty. Creation is not instant. It requires patience and mistakes. After repeated failures, Enki identifies the problem. Clay alone cannot hold life. Something is missing. Something from the gods themselves. And the tablet says, "To give life, the flesh of a god shall be mixed with the clay." Whether this means blood, essence, or spirit, the symbolism is clear. Earth alone cannot create humans. Divine essence alone cannot sustain them. But the mix is something entirely new. And this motif appears everywhere. Egypt. Khnum shapes humans from clay on his potter's wheel. Genesis. God forms Adam from dust and breathes life into him. Greek myth. Prometheus molds man and gives him fire. Different cultures, different eras, but always the same formula. Earth plus something sacred equals humanity. With the divine ingredient added, the mixture changes. The clay stabilizes, the prototypes strengthen, the form becomes coherent. And then, in the silent chamber beneath the world, a pair of eyes open for the first time. Not Igigi, not Anunnaki, not divine, not animal. Something in between. Something with enough intelligence to work, enough durability to endure. And, unintentionally, a spark of curiosity neither Enki nor Enlil expected. The first human breath is not celebrated. It is observed, measured, evaluated. Is it strong enough? Is it obedient enough? Will it carry the burden the Igigi abandoned? They didn't create us to worship them. They created us to relieve them. But the gods overlooked a flaw in their plan. When you mix divine essence with clay, you create something unpredictable, something that asks questions, something that imagines, something that evolves, a trait that the gods feared most. Because rebellion begins with imagination, and the first human's first breath is the moment humanity inherits the potential the Igigi once claimed for themselves. But creation is only the beginning. What happens when this new species leaves the shadows of the Abzu and begins to multiply? What happens when humans spread faster than the gods anticipated, when their voices rise, and when their presence becomes impossible to ignore? When the first human opened its eyes in Enki's chamber, there was no celebration, no divine chorus, no moment of awe, because humanity's arrival was not a miracle. It was a solution, a response to a crisis the gods could no longer contain. The Igigi had rebelled, heaven had cracked open, and the Anunnaki needed someone to carry the burden that almost tore their kingdom apart. That someone was us. The Atrahasis tablet states humanity's purpose with brutal clarity. Let the human bear the yoke. Let the human carry the load of the gods. This is not metaphor. This is instruction. Humans were created to maintain the temples, tend the fields, regulate the waters, produce food, perform rituals, sustain the divine order. Not to worship, not to think, not to choose, to serve. It is one of the coldest lines in ancient literature, a reminder that humanity was not born free. We were born functional, but in some Mesopotamian traditions, this newly created being was not just a tool, it had a name, a prototype referred to in Akkadian as Adamu, a word linked to roots meaning to make, to form, and closely tied to earth, soil, and red clay. That name should sound familiar. In the Hebrew tradition, Adam comes from Adamah, the ground, the red earth, the very substance of creation itself. In Arabic, the name becomes Adam, carrying the same ancient idea, a being molded from earth, animated by something higher, yet bound by purpose. And then there is Adapa, a wise, early human-like figure shaped or taught by Enki, a being offered forbidden food and forbidden drink, hesitating, and losing the chance to gain what the gods possessed. To some scholars, these are three separate figures. To others, they are reflections of the same archetype. The first human, formed from clay, standing close to divine knowledge, yet denied its fullness. Regardless of interpretation, one thing is clear. Humanity's earliest identity was not only functional, it was named, symbolic, and tied to a mythic pattern that echoes across civilizations. But something unexpected happened. Enki's design required divine essence, a spark from the gods themselves, a spark that was never meant to exist inside clay. And that spark came with consequences. Humans learned quickly, adapted quickly, multiplied quickly. The one thing the gods did not want, because a species capable of growth is a species capable of change, and a species capable of change is a species capable of questioning. Every tablet hints at the same fear. Humans inherited more than labor. They inherited curiosity, and the gods did not know how to control that. Once freed from the Abzu, humans entered the world the Igigi once maintained. They learned tools, learned farming, learned ritual, learned speech. Life accelerated, cities formed, populations rose, voices multiplied. The tablets describe this moment with rising tension. Humanity increased, and their noise disturbed the god. Noise, not rebellion. Not violence, not corruption, just existence. The gods had created a workforce and accidentally unleashed a civilization. Here lies the core of the story. Humans were supposed to keep the divine order stable. Instead, we destabilized it, not because we tried, but because we grew. Too fast, too loud, too alive. And the gods begin to fear the same pattern that destroyed their peace once before. A population that does not accept its limits. A species that expands, thinks, dreams, questions. The Igigi rebelled with intention. Humans would rebel simply by existing. And that is when the gods reach a terrifying realization. If humans continue to grow, they may become harder to control than the Igigi ever were. The gods cannot allow that. Their solution will shape the darkest chapter of ancient myth. Humanity was created to solve a problem, to fill the gap the Igigi left behind. For a moment it worked. Temples functioned, fields flourished, the canals flowed again. The gods believed equilibrium had returned. But they had miscalculated one thing. The divine spark inside humans grows, not just physically, but in thought, awareness, creativity. Humans multiplied, formed settlements, invented, explored, asked questions the gods did not want answered. And with every generation, their presence grew louder, not with rebellion, not with weapons, with life. The Atrahasis epic describes the crisis simply. Humanity increased, and their noise disturbed the god. Scholars often interpret noise as sound, but in mythic language it means something deeper. Activity, growth, expansion, self-direction. In other words, humans were no longer just functioning. They were becoming thinkers, becoming communities, becoming civilizations, the very thing the gods feared most, because the last time a population grew uncontrollable, the heavens burned. Enlil, already scarred by the Igigi rebellion, sees humanity as a second threat rising from below. He does not see progress. He sees warning signs. The same pattern: growth, noise, independence, revolt. And he refuses to let it happen again. So he acts, not with lightning or war, but with something colder: population control. The tablets describe 3 successive attempts to reduce humanity. 1. Famine crops wither, storehouses empty, people collapse in the fields. Humanity survives. 2. Plague bodies weaken, villages fall silent, breath becomes scarce. Humanity survives. 3. Drought rivers thin, the canals crack, the earth turns to dust. Humanity survives. Why? Because someone interferes. Enki, who shaped humanity, who added the divine spark, quietly works against these disasters, not with miracles, but with guidance. Dig deeper for water, plant new crops, purify the wells, move to higher ground. He teaches humans how to endure the gods' punishments without revealing that they are punishments at all. And with each intervention, human resilience grows stronger. The very thing Enlil wants to stop. Enki accelerates. When famine fails, and plague fails, and drought fails, the council faces a truth they never considered. Humanity is harder to break than the Igigi. And so Enlil proposes the one solution ancient cultures around the world all remember: a reset, a cleansing, a total erasure, a flood. Not punishment, not moral judgment, the removal of a species that outgrew its intended role. But the flood will not destroy humanity alone. It will reshape the fate of the Igigi and create legends that echo through every civilization on Earth. When the gods decide to erase humanity with a flood, another question rises beneath the surface. What happens to the Igigi, the rebels who caused all of this? The tablets never give a straightforward answer. Instead, they leave fragments, scattered lines, brief references, half-buried clues. But when these pieces are brought together, a shadowy picture emerges. The Igigi were not destroyed, not all of them. Some remained in the heavens, some vanished without explanation. But some were sent down, not as rulers, not as heroes, but as exiles. The phrase, "they were sent down," appears only briefly in Mesopotamian literature. But its implications ripple through later religious and mythological traditions. To be sent down from heaven means loss of status, loss of purpose, loss of divine privilege, separation from the celestial order. The Igigi become something new, neither divine nor mortal, neither rulers nor servants. They become wanderers, a displaced race with memories of the rebellion but no home to return to. Centuries later, the Book of Enoch introduces another mysterious group, the Watchers, heavenly beings assigned to oversee the world who descend and become entangled with humanity. Their actions create the Nephilim, hybrid beings, mighty figures, half divine and half human. The parallels with the Igigi are undeniable. Both are subordinate divine classes. Both rebel, both descend. Both break boundaries between heaven and earth. Both leave behind giants or mighty men. In ancient memory, were the Watchers simply retellings of the Igigi legend? Or was the Igigi story itself a retelling of something older? Myth has a long memory. Across distant civilizations, a strange archetype repeats. A loyal servant class rises against the gods, rebels, is punished, falls, remains among humans. You see it in Mesopotamia, in early Jewish writings, in Zoroastrian tradition, in Hindu cosmology. Different names, same narrative skeleton. This is not coincidence. It is pattern, a memory of a cosmic fracture humanity could not forget. Mesopotamian demonology later describes luminous, restless beings that move at the margins of human settlements. Not fully divine, not fully mortal, watching, observing, silent. Are these literary metaphors, cultural memories, or echoes of exiled Igigi integrating into the world of humans after the flood reshaped everything? The tablets stay silent, but the myths around them speak loudly, because humanity was created to replace the Igigi. Yet now the Igigi walk among the very species meant to erase them. This creates a paradox at the center of the world's oldest mythology. Did humanity inherit the world from a rebellion while living alongside the rebels themselves? If so, then the roots of our identity, our fears, our dreams, our stories, may come from more than the gods intended. And this leads to one final question. If the Igigi shaped the early world from the shadows, then what shaped us? Myth, memory, or something the ancients tried to describe in clay long before science existed? When you read the Sumerian creation tablets today, something strange happens. You don't feel like you're reading mythology. You feel like you're reading a memory wrapped in symbols older than writing itself. And the deeper you look, the more unsettling the parallels become. Not because they are literal, not because they prove anything supernatural, but because they follow patterns that continue to appear in every era of human thought. The Sumerian sequence is simple. 1. Raw chaos. 2. Cosmic order. 3. A working class. 4. A rebellion. 5. A replacement species. 6. A flood reset. 7. A new beginning. Strip away the divine names, the imagery, the cosmology. And you're left with a pattern humans still follow. Systems form, systems strain. Workers resist, leaders react. Collapse, reset, rebuild. It's not just myth, it's sociology. It's psychology, it's history on repeat. The ancient stories weren't predicting the future. They were describing a cycle baked into reality. Nearly every ancient culture imagines humanity created from Earth, plus a mysterious something. Breath, spirit, essence, fire. Science today uses very different language. Minerals, organic molecules, spark of metabolism, genetic code. But the structure remains exactly the same. Matter plus activation equals life. This doesn't make myth scientific. It makes myth symbolic, a poetic attempt to describe a process humans sensed long before biology existed. In Mesopotamia, the Igigi rebel. In Greece, the Titans rebel. In India, the Asuras rebel. In Abrahamic tradition, the angels rebel. Different details, different gods. Same archetype. Something made to serve chooses not to. This is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of something ancient in the human mind. The knowledge that authority is fragile, and that the desire for freedom did not begin with us. Flood legends appear in over 200 cultures, far too widespread to dismiss easily. Not identical, not copied, but resonant. Some civilizations remember it as punishment, others as a reset, others as a cosmic accident. But the memory remains, a collective scar older than history. Myth is not science. Science is not myth. But both are attempts to explain the same thing. Why are we here? And why do we feel like we came from somewhere else? It might be biology. It might be psychology. It might be ancient memory. Or it might be something we haven't discovered yet. But one fact remains. Across time, across continents, across cultures, humanity keeps repeating the same story with the same characters and the same fears. Not because it's true, but because it means something. And this brings us to the final question, the one the tablets never answer, the one every myth circles around. If humanity was created for a purpose, how much of that purpose still shapes us today? And if the gods truly feared what humans might become, were they right? The flood was supposed to be the end, the final erasure, the reset the gods believed would silence the world forever. But when the waters pulled back, something unexpected rose with the land. Humanity survived, not through strength, not through obedience, through defiance, resilience, and something older than the gods themselves. The spark Enki placed in clay. That spark refused to die. When the world dries, three forces remain. The gods. Order, authority, hierarchy. Builders of structure, terrified of losing control. The Igigi. Rebels, exiles, witnesses. Too divine to die, too fallen to rule, wandering the world they once labored to build. Humans, born to serve, designed to endure, but evolving into something neither side expected. This triangle is the true foundation of the ancient world. Three forces locked in a silent conflict that shaped every myth humanity would ever write. The gods created humans to solve a crisis, but humanity was the crisis. Not because we disobeyed, not because we rose against them, but because we grew. We became thinkers, creators, questioners, architects of our own destiny. Every tablet hints at the same unspoken fear. Humans were not meant to stay small. The divine spark inside us always had the potential to outgrow its masters, and deep down, the gods knew it. Here is the truth hidden beneath the clay, beneath the myths, beneath the translations. Humanity did not make a covenant with the gods. Humanity inherited one, not spoken, not written, but embedded in our existence. A covenant that says, "You were created to carry the gods' burden, but you were born containing the one thing they could not control. And because of that, you were destined to surpass them. This is why the gods feared our noise, why they feared our growth, why they feared our resilience. Not because we were dangerous, but because we were possible. Potential is the one thing no hierarchy can contain. So what are we now? The last echoes of a cosmic rebellion? A species shaped by conflict between gods and servants? Or the first beings truly free from the order that created us? The tablets never answer. They break before they reach that part. Maybe the ancients didn't know. Maybe they weren't allowed to know. Or maybe that answer was meant to be discovered by us, not inherited. Because the real mystery is not how humanity began, but what humanity is becoming. And if this was humanity's first chapter, if our creation was only the beginning, then one question remains. Did the gods ever return to guide the next stage of human history, or to stop it? Because in the next episode, we follow the second great intervention, the moment the gods came back into the story and changed the world again.